Every single time. No exception. Every single time. Every time you see the people that are engaging the most in cancel culture, they have done things in the past that are 10 times worse than the person they're trying to cancel. I can't think of any single exception. By the way, I thought it's a myth that Hollywood was pushing, because you would usually have movies where you'd have like a raging homophobe that would go around and he would attack gay people, and it turns out that he was gay themselves. No, apparently there's historical precedent for that. It happened way too many times in the United States that you would have a pro-family politician, which was incredibly anti-LGBT, and when you looked into him, when you investigated the person, turns out he was gay. And I'm starting to think why this is. I think it takes a specific mindset to be a moral busybody, and the more of a person has the flaw within him, the more likely it is that he sees it in other people. And it, like time and time and time again. So now you have on Netflix the situation where Dave Chappelle did the unfathomable jokes, and then you have a person within Netflix that did the walkout. Now, to me as an Eastern European, this shows just how vulgar this American ideology is. Where you have a person which has power over deciding what millions of people get to watch, gets to treat other people like children, and on top of that is paid very well, is in a position of power at a multi-billion-dollar international corporation, and at the same time they can pretend that they're marginalized. They get to pretend that they're a victim by using the collective. So because other people that have the same skin color or have the same sexual orientation or have the same gender may be oppressed in some situation, the oppression transfers to the person in power that is not oppressed at all and can use that in order to dominate others. I don't think there is any other ideology on earth which allows the rich and the powerful to pretend that they're victims and use the victimhood to channel it and then oppress other people. Again, Dave Chappelle has tens of millions of followers. Tens of millions of adults want to watch Dave Chappelle. But you have a couple of people in positions of power that say, no, you're not allowed. You're like a child. I'm your mother. And I tell you, you're not allowed to watch the Netflix special. It's the most bizarre thing. It's very annoying. And if only 5% of the people that are not allowed would speak out, if only 5% of them would go in front of Netflix to support Dave Chappelle, all of this would go away. The Empress would have no clothes. But alas, we don't live in that perfect system, so we have to put up with it. But what's interesting is when you look at these people, right? Why was she upset? She was upset about jokes that weren't politically correct. Now, she doesn't make jokes, turns out, in 2018, so it's not like it's 10 years ago or anything like that. In 2018, look at what she said. Bro, I'd beat the dog shit out of you, furry slipper wearing ass fuckboy. So she's homophobic as hell, threatening people with violence. And then there is an entire thing, like an entire, you can pause the video and you can watch it, where she shows racism against Asians. And I guarantee to you, if she wasn't a woman and she spoke like this, she would have been considered a misogynist as well. So all of the woke sins are being committed. I mean, she actually talked about that she had broke her phone on the head of an Asian woman. This is what a violent person this is. And you get to see the type of people in a previous video that I made. There was that guy with the sign supporting Dave Chappelle. And you have one of them assaulting the guy, breaking the sign, and then claiming he has a weapon because now he's left with a stick. This is the type of people that are placed in a position of power to create morality for the rest of society. These are the people that will try to get you fired because you are not a good and decent person. And for some reason, again, for some reason, people are fine with this. You know, the silent majority, I'm starting to think they're not players in this at all. They are the spoils of the victor in the culture war. You have a culture war between these arrogant people, these moral busybodies, and with the people like myself who are saying, it's like, we don't want gatekeepers. Just let the market decide. If you don't like it, turn it off. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you think something is harmful, put a disclaimer on it. Like, put a disclaimer on the Dave Chappelle comedy. It's like, hey, if you're a trans person, you may be offended. Don't watch this. It's like you have disclaimers for teenagers when you have a violent movie or something. But no, we can't have that. Instead, we have some of the most depraved and some of the most vile people. Again, she used the phone, according to her, not to me. Like, she brags about it, right? Like, that is the shocking thing. She brags about using the phone to smash it on top of an Asian woman's head. And this is the person that gets to dictate if you're a decent human being or not. And it's so funny, right? Because the same person would have been canceled 15 years ago by the piety warriors. I mean, if you were a person in a position of power and you'd curse like this, even if the piety warriors agreed with what you were doing because you were being homophobic and they were as well, but if you talk like this, you would have the moms of America writing concerned letters to your company. You had concerned citizens writing letters. You would have some of the most powerful right-wing organizations that before social media, they would write letters or they would go in front of the company and protest, or they would put pressure on other companies not to do business with you. Cancel culture is not new. The only thing that's new is that the ideology changed. Like, the things that you would get canceled before are now being promoted, and the things that were promoted before are now being canceled. That's the only thing. But the persecution is there. And literally the same person that's advocating for other people getting persecuted would have been persecuted in the past. And I'm pretty sure that in the future, like 10 or 20 years from now, she's going to get canceled out as well if she keeps it up. You know, I'm starting to understand that there is wisdom in the Bible. I'm an atheist, okay? But like, the Bible, when it was written, like thousands of years ago, there was wisdom in it. It's like, let the person who is without sin cast the first stone, because they would know that the people throwing the stones were probably the most sinful. I'm starting to think that maybe there's this psychological thing where a person notices their own flaws in others and it pisses them off. Like, if you're a greedy person and you notice someone else that's greedy, it pisses you off. If you're a racist person and you notice someone else that's racist, it pisses you off. A lot more than it should a normal person, is what I'm saying. To the point where you stage an entire walkout and you try your best in order to ruin a person's career because of a joke. And this person, again, used the phone in order to smash it into the head of another human being. And she is the one that's upset about it. And it's not, you know, like, at the end of the day, I don't think these people are upset. I don't think they're offended. I think it's a 100% power trip. That's it. Like, the idea that you can use your own will and impose it on other human beings makes these people get a dopamine rush. Like, that part when they're in a crowd and they're chanting together and they're trying to ruin someone, and they notice a guy that's counter-protesting and they break their sign, and then they laugh at it and they give him the stick. For them, that's dopamine. You know, they go afterwards and they laugh about it. And they say, oh, did you see what I did? Oh, you're so smart. Ha, ha, ha. It's not about civil rights with these people. Again, if 15 years in the past would have been today, this person would have probably been a raging religious fanatic. Like, she would have used religion to justify imposing her will on others. It's not about ideology, it's just imposing your will. If she goes into Saudi Arabia, she's going to use Islam. Like, I think it's the mindset of the person. It is the desire to do whatever you can in order to force your will upon other people. And it doesn't matter the ideology. And I have a case like this in Romania. There was this teacher that my parents knew at a university, and she would teach something about communism. But not only that, she would make lists of people. She would try to rat and snitch on people that would complain about the nation's economy or the dear leader. Like, she would go overboard. That's how progressive she was. And then the communist regime falls, and now we have capitalism, and now she becomes a economics teacher at the same university, teaching right-wing economics, like teaching the exact same thing that she would rat to the secret police a student if he was studying. These people, they don't care. They're literally just that they're focused on gaining power and dominating other human beings. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.